Next up, we're going to be going to the Attorney General race. As you know, our current Attorney General, Ken Paxton's not running for re-election because he's running for the Senate, right, against John Cornyn. And so we've got an open seat for Attorney General, which is Texas's top lawyer. And we have one of the candidates here tonight, Aaron Reitz. So, Aaron, if you can come on up, and we'll give you a couple minutes to introduce yourself.
Right. Well, howdy, Bastrop. My name's Aaron Reitz, and I am your Trump-trusted, Paxton-endorsed candidate for Texas Attorney General. Now, look, I'm running for Attorney General because I believe that we are in a battle for the soul of our state and our nation. And I know from long-fought personal experience that the primary arena in which we fight the dark forces of the left is the justice system. This is something that President Trump ran on. It's something that he won on. And as one of his very first orders of business after November of 2024 is he named me to the very senior ranks of the Justice Department. And when he nominated me to lead the Office of Legal Policy at DOJ, he said that Aaron Reitz is a true MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. Now, on the one hand, that is a good description of what our next Attorney General ought to be. But more fundamentally, there is a reason why he said that about me. Because he saw somebody who has spent his entire career leading legal troops into legal combat to deliver legal victories for our state and for our nation. It's someone with a background who, like me, was a Marine officer, an Afghanistan war veteran, even in law school, leading nationally recognized conservative student legal organizations, clerked on the Texas Supreme Court for the now Chief Justice, Jimmy Blacklock, spent several years in private practice, was Attorney General Ken Paxton's deputy, then Ted Cruz's chief, then the Senate-confirmed head of the Office of Legal Policy at DOJ. It's someone with that kind of background that is uniquely suited to serve as the Chief Legal Officer of Texas. I always remind the grassroots of this. We haven't had to choose in an open primary an Attorney General in over a decade. And so a lot of people wonder, what is this job? And I always point to Article 4, Section 22 of the Texas Constitution, which says, quote, "The Attorney General shall represent the state of Texas in all courts and pleas." This is a legal, law enforcement, executive branch job. It is not a legislative job. So when you hear from my opponents, and I'll close with this thought, I see the stop sign. When you hear from some of my opponents in this race, talk about their legislative record, bills worked on, amendments introduced, committees served on, that's great. You should say thank you for your legislative service. Are you running for re-election to the legislature? Because what I'm running on is my record litigating, investigating, suing, defending, and appealing on all of the major issues that you all here gathered in this room care about and that I hope to flesh out during the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Aaron, what do you consider the top Texas values that you will defend as Texas Attorney General?
Well, look, I'll tell you this. I am a Trump-Paxton guy. President Trump called me a true MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. I say I'm a Paxton guy not just because I served as his deputy, during which I sued the 46th president, that's auto pen Joe Biden, by the way. I sued the 46th president 46 times, and I won 85% of those cases. I went to war on your behalf against not just the Biden administration, but big tech, big pharma, big banks, big blue school districts, big blue cities and counties. Why? Because they're enemies of the Constitution, because they hate our values. When Paxton endorsed me to succeed him as the next Attorney General, he said Aaron Reitz is the only battle-tested, battle-hardened, qualified candidate in this race. Why? Because I've been fighting for our values up and down the chain of the justice system at every turn in state and federal courts all over Texas and the country. That's all I do. And so what I am planning on doing is advancing, as your Attorney General, advancing the America First law and order agenda. That's my theme. When I get elected, we'll have 2 years with President Trump in office. Halfway through my 4-year term, there's going to be a presidential election. God forbid a Democrat wins that race, but if they do, we're going to go to war again. But in the meantime, we have an ally in the White House. And my number one focus as a former senior presidentially appointed Senate-confirmed member of his administration is to get total alignment with the president to bring to bear all of the benefits that his presidency has to help Texas. And what am I going to do with that? We're going to deport millions of illegal aliens. We are going to eject every Sharia law-obsessed Muslim in this state. We are going to crack down on every LGBTQ tranny that wants to indoctrinate your kids in public schools. We're going to get rid of DEI everywhere it's found. We are going to find every leftist that wants to break the rules, violate the Constitution, and we're going to investigate, litigate, and destroy them in court. That's my value.
We got
All right, I know.
another question here.
I get a little bit fired up about this stuff. I like this stuff.
What structural changes are you planning to make in the AG's office?
Yeah, look, what I would tell you, as Paxton's deputy, I oversaw hundreds and hundreds of lawyers and hundreds of law enforcement professionals and executives and administrative support staff. Right now, the problem is not a structural one. I don't know what informed the question. I'd be curious to hear. But right now, the Attorney General's office is structured like the kind of total war litigation unit that you would want. It has the tools available. It's got great lawyers. It has strong laws and regulations on which the Attorney General can go on offense for our values. The question is not, are there structural changes that are needed? The question in this moment of transition from Paxton to the next guy is, are the same fights going to be able to continue with the same energy and effectiveness? Paxton said in his endorsement statement, which you can easily find on social media, even said in that statement, he said, the number one question I get when I'm traveling around the state doing his own race is, who's going to succeed you, Ken? That's the number one thing. They don't worry about the structure. They wonder about who's going to be the captain that's going to steer the ship. My three opponents offer nothing in the way of giving Texans confidence that we're going to be able to keep our foot on the gas. This is a major reason why Paxton endorsed me, because he said I'm the only one that he would trust to pass the baton down to. So we could get into the weeds about how the AG's office is structured and the divisions and the various assignments and who's a deputy and who's an associate deputy and whether this division over here is adequately staffed. We can tweak those things. But the most important thing is that there is an army of lawyers in the AG's office, and they are looking to see who is going to be their next general. That's the most important question. And if you choose somebody who has no experience or isn't ready, the army will fail. But I'm trying to be the Attorney General who's going to step out in front and continue to lead us to victory.
Last question here, which I think is a really fun one. I haven't heard this before. Name one thing about you that we won't find out from reading your website.
I had hair at one point, actually. Believe it or not. Lost it a long time ago, though. Look, what I'm proud of, look, I'm running on my record, right? My record in court up and down the chain of the justice system. This is something that is going to distinguish me, and I'm going to touch on this. I touched on it before during my opening remarks. But this is really, really critical, and I'm going to do I'm going to reiterate a 30-second civics lesson, only because if you're here tonight, you are a highly informed voter, and you're going to be very conscientious and thoughtful about who you're going to vote for. Yes, we know that there are low information voters out there, but if you're here, you're not one of those low information voters. This is really important in the final weeks of this election. You have to evaluate fitness for the office as against what the position actually does. Article 4, Section 22 of the Texas Constitution, quote, the Attorney General shall represent the state of Texas in all courts and pleas, legal, law enforcement, executive branch, not legislative. My opponents, all three of them, you might have gotten your mailbox already flooded with Photoshop pictures and nicknames that they've given themselves. Forget it. I've sat on a stage with them for the past several weeks, all I ever hear. I worked on this bill. I did that bill. I worked on this amendment. That's great. I'm not dogging you for the good work that you've done. But it is not at all clear to me that these people who are running because it's the next rung in the ladder, that they understand even the slightest what this job does. So don't tell me about the bills that you worked on unless you're running for re-election to the legislature. I want to see your legal record. I want to know the cases that you've litigated, investigated, sued, defended, and appealed. I want to know what courtroom battles you've gotten in. I want to know what investigations have been successful that have resulted in lawsuits that are then successful. So I don't know if I lay all that out on my website, but that's an important distinction you want to make. And look, I'll tell you this. If you dig deep enough, you will find a picture of me with hair. And in fact, in high school, when sideburns were cool, I had sideburns too. They were cool at some point, right? You guys remember? Okay.
We got to leave it there.
All right, we got to leave it at that.
If we go over time. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Aaron Wrights for Attorney General. Thank you, and God bless. Thanks, brother.
See you. Yeah. See you. All right, we're going to move back to the Court of Criminal Appeals, this time for place 9. We got John Messenger here and Jennifer Bolito. So whoever gets here first can get this microphone. This is Court of Criminal Appeals, place 9, and go ahead and give your 2-minute introduction.
Good evening. I am John Messenger. I'm running for Court of Criminal Appeals, place 9. I think a lot of you remember me from last cycle when I ran for the 3rd Court of Appeals. Some of you remember my children, and no, Evie is not here. I know I got asked about her earlier. Maybe next time. I'm not running for a trial court position. Trial court is what you see on TV. Trial court is law and order. And I'm not just running for an appellate court. I'm running for the highest appellate court in Texas. The Court of Criminal Appeals does not review case decisions from trial courts. It reviews the appellate decisions that review those decisions. It's a 30,000-foot, let's shape the criminal law of Texas and move forward with that. Over the last 15 years, as one of your 3 lawyers working at the state prosecuting attorney's office, I have done more work in front of this court than anybody in Texas. It's a weird thing to say out loud. It's by the grace of God I've had this weird talent for appeals and a unique opportunity to do something in service to the people of Texas. If you include my time as assistant state prosecuting attorney in Waco, I've done over 125 petitions for review. That's how you get your case into the Court of Criminal Appeals. I've done roughly 100 briefs. You have 30 days to do that, not the 500 days that it sometimes takes them to write the opinion. And I've done 26 oral arguments. That's just in the court that I'm running for. I've done well over 150 appeals in the lower courts of appeals. We talked about how behind this court is, and some of the candidates talked about how bad some of the decisions have been. It's an all-Republican court that does a lot of not-so-Republican things. If you want to turn that around, you have a chance to vote for the person who has more experience in that court than anybody. Of those 3 numbers that I just told you, 125, 126, my opponents are 0, 0, and 0. This isn't a trial court. This is the state's highest appellate court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Bolito. I'm a criminal district judge in Dallas County. I was appointed by Governor Abbott to serve on that bench, and I am running for the Court of Criminal Appeals, place 9. I've been working in criminal law for 34 years. And in those 34 years, I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense lawyer, I've been a public defender, I've been a judge 3 times. This is the 3rd time that a governor has asked me to sit on a criminal district court bench, twice by Governor Perry and once by Governor Abbott. I have trial and appellate death penalty experience. I've tried about 140 jury trials to a verdict as a lawyer, probably another 40 as a judge. I've written appeals on the Intermediate Court of Appeals, and I've worked on the death penalty cases, the writs of habeas corpus actually in the Court of Criminal Appeals. So I have the experience to be on this court. Most recently, before I left the DA's office to join to sit on the bench this time when Governor Abbott called, I was the chief of the appellate division of the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. and I oversaw 20 lawyers and brief writers like John. I supervised them. So, what does all this experience matter? Well, I'll tell you, it matters to police officers and your law enforcement. I've been endorsed by CLEAT, the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas. They endorsed my opponent last time, but chose to give me the endorsement on this statewide race. The Dallas Police Association, the Houston Police Officers Association. I am the law and order choice and law enforcement choice of this court, but I want your vote. Jennifer Bolito for Court of Criminal Appeals, place 9. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, I'm going to ask a question that we asked the last panel of Criminal Court of Appeals candidates. Are there steps you could or would take to speed up decisions and reduce the caseload of the court?
Yeah, so I've actually talked with the presiding judge, Judge Shank, about the backlog, and he's got some ideas, and they talked about it on the last panel. One of them is to have 3-person panels. To change the rules like that, you've got to actually have enough votes to get that done, and some of the judges that are currently on the court are kind of pushing back against that. I think that's a great idea to try to speed up the process. Now, this court does a lot, that does these petitions for discretionary review from the appellate courts, but they also have this other jurisdiction for the writs of habeas corpus. And that is a huge bulk of the docket in this court. And I think that those can also be taken care of through the briefing attorneys, and then also maybe these 3 judge panels. So I'm open to all ideas, and I'll work with the presiding judge to get that done.
I've talked to presiding Judge Shank about this idea of going back to panels. We haven't done panels in a long time. And as one of the other candidates was talking about, 10 years ago, we didn't have this problem. It takes 2.5 times as long to do an average appeal, a review of a Court of Appeals decision as it did 10 years ago. They weren't sitting in panels. They had people who were making better decisions. The court has a lot of talent. The problem isn't talent. The problem is the judgment and the things they want to do. As far as I can tell, the big problem is it's a lot harder to explain the wrong answer than it is to explain the right answer. That opinion just isn't going to write, and I think that's why it's taking so long. So if you have somebody who is used to framing the issues for the court in 30 days and doing all the briefing the court needs in 30 days, and then sits down and you have 4 other people you can work with who are committed to upholding fair convictions and not finding new and interesting ways to reverse them, the docket's going to clear itself. That's what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question here. Why did you choose to run for this specific judicial position?
This judicial court, this is what I've done for 15 years. Again, the state prosecuting attorney's office by statute represents you in front of this court. We could do everything in front of this court, but again, we're 3 lawyers and a secretary. We are the smallest agency in Texas, but we punch way above our weight class. And so I've had a front row seat to everything that's happened. I like a lot of the judges personally who are on the court. I just disagree with what they're doing. Smart people, nice people you would enjoy spending time with, God-fearing people. Their judgment's just different. I think we get to the point where people want a perfect judicial system, and imperfect people can't give you perfection. We can give you fair, and that's what the Constitution requires. And if that's what we do, if we went back to that, things would work out a lot better. And so I've been watching it. I've lost my share of terrible cases. I shouldn't have lost them. And the only way this court gets better is if people who care about the justice the Texans want run. And that's why I'm 20,000 miles into this race. Thank you.
So I decided to run for the Court of Criminal Appeals because I want to bring real world trial court experience to this court because it's lacking right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to go to maybe the district attorney out here in Bastrop, or maybe one of your judges, and say, listen, would you rather have a judge on the Court of Criminal Appeals that's actually been a judge and actually been a trial judge, or would you rather have somebody that just sat in his office and written briefs all day? And see what that person says, because the district attorneys and some of the trial court judges of this state will, look at some of the opinions that are coming out of the Court of Criminal Appeals and kind of scratch their head and say they don't know what's going on down in the trial courts. They don't know because they've just been working on all these appeals all the time. So I have running to bring my judicial experience to the Court of Criminal Appeals. And that's why I chose this race. Thank you.
One more question for both of y'all. What about your background in campaign makes it more likely you will beat the Democrat in November?
Well, I think it's my broad base of experience. So the Democrat in our race is the chief of the Civil Rights Division of the Tarrant County DA's office, okay? So you know exactly how liberal she is, okay? That was a real big concern of all the police agencies that I went and asked for their endorsement. They wanted to know, can you beat this person? Because she's one of the ones that is prosecuting police officers in Travis County, okay, and running that show. And so I have a broad base of experience. I've been a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I've done trials and appeals. I actually have death penalty experience in both trials and appeals. So I am the best candidate to beat that Democrat in November. And so that's why I think you should vote for me. Thank you.
If it's fair game to tar a political opponent for the DA that they work for, then I think it's strange that somebody who works for John Creuzot before she got appointed to the bench is going to be the one to take this attack to a Travis County Democrat. I don't think that's how you do that attack. I don't think it's fair to say that just because you work for somebody that you necessarily carry their water. The problem here is that our Democrat opponent, she's really skilled. She's actually done appeals. She's worked at the Court of Criminal Appeals. She's done appeals for decades. She has experience my opponent does not have. I have experience the Democrat does not have. And prosecutors across the state, they don't call my opponent for advice. They call our office. A lot of them have my cell phone and they call me on weekends. They know that I know criminal law as well as anybody in Texas does. That's why they call us. That's our job at the state prosecuting attorney's office. And that's why I have more experience doing this than anybody you're ever going to meet. Thank you.
Thank you to both of y'all. Please give them another round of applause for the Texas Criminal Court of Appeals Place 9 candidate.